Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect.
Slaves, be obedient to those who are your earthly masters with fear and trembling.
Slaves, be obedient to those who are your earthly masters with fear and trembling.
In singleness of heart as to Christ.
In singleness of heart as to Christ.
Not in the way of eye service as men pleasers, but as servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. Today, Jennifer and I are joined by Patrice Scott. And Patrice is a recent graduate in film and video production at Grand Valley State University. And his first project, called Distorted, won a Student Production Award for Best Short Form Fiction. Congratulations! Which, I mean, that's awesome. That is so very cool. And Patrice is going to talk to us today about, among other things, his newest project called Songs from the Sky, which is really awesome. So I'm going to shut up and let Patrice talk about it. So Patrice, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It really means a lot. Yeah, Songs from the Sky. It's probably the project that I've poured the most of my soul into in the last 4 to 6 months. It is my senior thesis film, and it's a story about two house slave women. It's a mother and daughter who are kind of clashing with their ideals.
Mm-hmm.
They've been taught all throughout their lives that they have to be subservient, and this is kind of enforced by verses in the Bible. And the mother is completely like for this, and she believes that if they continue to be subservient and stay in the places that they are in their lives, that things will be okay with them after death in heaven. But the daughter believes that there's more in life, and that's where like the conflict comes in.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's important to note, and I don't want to leave this out, Patrice, because I think it's an important part of your film, is that it's the slave owner who is conducting quote unquote Bible study with them, and basically just, kind of force feeding Bible verses to them. So I think
Yes.
that's a really, really important part of the story. So
That was actually inspired by this was something that really did happen during slavery. And
mm-hmm.
after doing like a lot of research on just kind of like making a slave film, because originally I was very iffy about making a slave film, just because
Mm-hmm.
like within the Black community there's just kind of like I mean, even for me, I'm like I don't want to see any more slave films.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah, it's a lot
very
of trauma porn.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just kind of like seeing Black trauma on screen is a lot, and it's not the kind of stories that we want to see on screen anymore. There's so many other stories we can tell.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to challenge myself with this film to make to explore a story outside of the trauma aspect of slavery, because I do feel like there's more stories to tell from that time period for us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that I feel like we've only scratched the surface for slave movies or slave stories, and that surface has just been like the violence
Mm-hmm.
and the trauma, and just seeing how we were treated. And there's there was always like a human element missing out of a lot of
Mm-hmm.
those stories, and that's kind of what I wanted to try to do with this. I just wanted it to focus solely on these two characters and their relationship and see who they are as people
Mhm.
in this time period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to step back a quick moment and then talk more about the film, but you said that this is your thesis project.
Yes.
Thesis for what?
So this is my senior thesis for graduating from the film program at Grand Valley State.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yep.
And what degree do you get?
So it'll be for film and video production.
Excellent.
Yep.
I would like to know a little bit about your childhood and what helped you gravitate towards film. And then also maybe again talking about how you picked this subject.
Yeah.
Ooh, good question, Jennifer.
I so I just kind of grew up always being into video and photo stuff. I don't remember this. I was too young, but apparently my mom and my dad and my family, they say I was always just walking around with like VHS tapes and just stacking them up and then just always asking for my mom's camcorder to film things.
Oh, wow.
I take their word for it. I don't believe it. Yeah, I around middle school was when I really wanted to kind of take it a little bit further, take it a step further. So I started like making stop motion animations with like my action figures.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
it was really fun. I still have the videos of those, and it's really endearing to go back and watch some like my first videos. And then I just got into like making like silly little YouTube videos with my siblings. And from there, high school, I kind of just naturally became known as like the video guy because I was the only person who knew how to do stuff with camera stuff. I don't know, it's just been a lifelong kind of passion just because I've just been with it for so long, and it just felt it felt a lot of and I feel like very lucky to be able to say this because a lot of people who go into college don't know what they want to do at first.
Yeah.
But I knew like right away that I was going to do video production as soon as I got into college. But that doesn't mean college was like easy for me. I graduated from high school back in 2016 and I'm just
Mhm.
graduating college now. Even though I knew exactly what I wanted to do, it was still like a long struggle for me
Mhm.
to make it through college. I started college just like slack. I won't say I was slacking, but I wasn't doing good in a lot of my classes originally, and I didn't know why. I didn't know why I couldn't like keep up in my classes. And even though I was like trying as hard as I could to keep up in my classes, but I would end up like either failing or getting like barely passing these classes. But it turned out I was going through college with like undiagnosed ADHD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Huh.
and it really slowed me down. And I once I realized that's what was happening, I took before I realized that's what was happening. I took a year off of college because I was like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. Once I realized that is probably what's happening, I went back and started at community college again at Washtenaw Community College, and that's where I made the distorted film, and I was like, okay, I'm back in this. I'm gonna finish this up now. I feel better, and I found a lot of like strategies to manage my symptoms, and yeah, now I'm here and I feel good.
Well,
That
I want to, I'm sorry, Jennifer. Patrice, I want to applaud you for, first off, for thinking, hey, let me take a step back and figure things out. And then you went back. So kudos to you for that and for taking the time to realize, okay, something's going on. Let me figure out what it is and how to work through this. So that's huge. And I think you deserve a huge pat on the back for that. And I hope you're incredibly proud of yourself for that.
I am. Thank you. It's been a it like growing up with undiagnosed ADHD comes with like a lot of other kind of like uh mental distress because you're
Mhm.
always just kind of wondering, oh, is there something wrong with me? Why am I not able to keep up with everybody else? Like, and it's once you realize that you know you are you have a mental disorder, you have it's ADHD is a disability, then I began giving myself a lot of like grace and began to kind of be kinder to myself in the situations where I couldn't keep up, and it's been overall a lot better for my mental health. And it's not like it's perfect because like when you grow up like just kind of like internalizing that there might be something that you feel like you're not enough because you don't
Mhm.
know what's going on. Those are things that are gonna probably stick with me like for the rest of my life. But it's like I'm still like learning and growing with that, and I feel like I've come a long way. So I'm proud of myself for finishing
I
finishing.
feel like
You.
so many people are going to resonate with that message, and um, you're going to be an inspiration to a whole new
Yeah.
generation of people. What
Oh,
is distorted about that? Was the first film you made in at the community college.
mm-hmm.
Kudos to people who go to community college.
Mhm.
Shout out to
And
college.
yeah, it is a great stepping stone, which is often overlooked. I'm going to tell a little secret. The reason that we know Patrice is because my daughter met Patrice at community college, and the two of you worked on that project together.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you a little thing that Olivia told me. She said that when you walked into the room, she was like, that's the most talented person in here, and I'm going to work with him.
Oh.
She's told me that
Oh,
story.
she did tell you. I'm not so. I thought I was giving the secret. she
No,
said she said she recognized the talent right away, and you were going to be her work partner.
yep. That Olivia is my creative partner. I I don't know if she's told you this, but we're planning on starting like a production company down the line. So
Oh, wow.
yeah.
I love that.
Yep.
I really do love that. And I don't know if Jennifer told you, Patrice, but I actually was in November diagnosed with ADHD.
Oh,
So yeah, so the whole struggle of what's going on? Why is this happening? Why is this working like this? Like I get it. And it's only as a 54-year-old woman looking back that I'm like, huh, okay, some things make sense now.
yeah.
So my journey with ADHD was a bit different than yours, which everybody's journey is different to some degree. So the whole school thing wasn't a struggle for me for some reason. I don't know why, but after school and as an adult is when things started to kick in, and I'm like, yeah. And so I did internalize a lot of things for far longer than you have, my dear. So you thankfully figured stuff out a lot faster than I did. So seriously, when I say kudos to you, I'm not kidding. That's amazing. That's really huge. I'm glad that you have learned at such a young age to give yourself grace, because that's another lesson that sometimes people take a long time to learn.
And kudos to you too. Like kudos to anybody who
Thank you.
is diagnosed later in life, because like even though I was diagnosed relatively late, I I would say there's a lot of like different intersections that stop people from being diagnosed. Like
Mhm.
being a person of color, you're more likely to be overlooked. Your
Mhm.
symptoms are more likely to be overlooked. And also like and I've been just doing like a lot of research on ADHD, but I've seen that for women it's harder to be like your
Yep.
symptoms are overlooked. Being diagnosed at any time, I have a lot of respect for like you going through your journey at your own pace, and it's amazing. I have a lot of respect for anybody with ADHD who's going through it. I feel like it's really easy for people to like there's a stigma of like ADHD. It's like, oh, you're silly and you're goofy and you're just
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But it's there it really can slow you down. It can it's something that I feel like needs to be taken a little bit more seriously.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I mean, with what you're doing as far as your artwork and your passion for film, I mean, ADHD is not slowing you down, or it doesn't seem to be. I want to take a step back to your project Songs from the Sky. It's only 12 minutes, but and I'm always amazed with any sort of short form content, whether it's poetry or short stories or shorts as far as film, when there's a distinct beginning, middle, and end, and a full story is told.
Mhm.
And fully developed characters exist within such a short a small space, right? And I have to say, in that 12 minutes in Songs from the Sky, you get a very distinct feeling of all of the three separate characters and where they are in that film. You've done a really great job with that. I just wanted to point that out. So if you could talk a little bit about what it was like for you as far as character development
Hmm.
and writing the story, because you wrote it too, right? Like you developed the piece literally from beginning to end. So could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I first of all, I don't want to say that it was completely me because it was not completely me. Because I, even though I'm like the main person like idealizing and like writing the script and everything, there was a lot of different people and different minds that came together to make this what it was.
Mhm,
So like the writing stage was really rough. So my producer, Lynn Tran, she came on really early in the
mhm.
development of all this, and she saw the first version of the script and she really liked the vision. So she was like, okay, I see what you're trying to do here. I see what you're trying to do where you're like not trying to make your typical slave film and you want to say something, you have something to say with this. uh, but the script is not there. So like the very first, the earliest versions of the script were not good. They were not good at all.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. I think we have maybe like 13 drafts.
Okay.
Um, but the first versions, it started off as a story about, it was still like a mother and daughter, but it was a story about them discovering that they were insured because I was just doing a lot of research on like the aspects of slavery that aren't as well known. And
Hmm.
one of those things for that, uh, there are insurance companies that actually provide insurance for
Oh.
slave owners, if anything were to happen to the slaves. And there's even like there's databases out there where you can see each like the insurance policies that were taken out because a lot of these companies have evolved into companies that are still here today. And
Oh.
so they had to like disclose that, oh, we used to be this. And yeah.
Boycott, boycott.
I
Yeah.
had no idea.
Neither did I. This is the first I've heard. This is really good information.
It was really shocking for me, and that's where I wanted to maybe take the story originally, where it would still be them like learning to, so this the story now is the daughter finds like power within herself by teaching herself to read, and that was still an element that was in the beginning of
Hmm.
stages. They were both just after the slave owner left the house, they would just kind of take turns reading together. That element was they were going to end up finding the documents that said that they were insured and kind of like struggling with that realization that they were insured, and that
Wow.
it was but it when we went through that, it just didn't feel right. It felt like
Mhm.
there was still kind of like an element of like psychological trauma going on there,
Mhm.
because it the way that the writing was at first, they found out that they were insured, and they just kind of like broke down and were like,
Mhm.
yeah, it was just something that I didn't want to go into that direction. So,
Right.
and it was kind of like it was lacking conflict as well in the beginning stages, where they were just kind of like going back and forth reading,
Mhm.
and there wasn't a lot of tension there because of that. So we were trying to like figure out a way to really show who they were as people, while also keeping it something that was like interesting to watch.
Mhm.
And the way that we had to do that was to try to like create some kind of tension and some kind of conflict. And from there, I learned more about like the Bible verses that were used during slavery to keep the slaves in to be like obedient, to continue
Mhm.
obedient, because there's multiple verses in the Bible that explicitly say like that slaves should like obey their masters, and that's how the film opens up, and that's how the film ends as well, uh with the slave master reading these verses. And we picked two to be in the film. There's a secret third one in the film that's kind of like really low in volume and kind of like muffled out.
Mhm.
um but there's way more than that that are in the Bible and were used against slaves to like continue to keep them like in line. And
This is heavy. This is heavy.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, I was wondering about that when I was watching the film, because I'm not a religious woman. I have not read the Bible. I mean, I've read maybe a couple of different excerpts here and there, but like I wasn't totally sure if those were actual verses.
mhm,
So, yeah, but it didn't surprise me that slave owners would use the Bible as a tool to control their enslaved people. I mean,
yeah,
that didn't surprise me. What did surprise me, and I think this is probably more telling about me than anything else, but I'm always surprised that that any enslaved person then believed in God. Like,
yeah,
why are we slaves? Like in the I mean, that comes up in the movie. I don't want to give anything away, but that comes up in the movie, and I'm like, yeah, yeah. Why? Why? So,
that was I think that ends up being the goal, one of my many goals of the film. Like it this wasn't like originally like the plan, but as I kept writing it, I started asking that question myself. I was like, why why did we pick this up?
yeah,
and,
exactly.
and I think there's a shot in the film uh of the Jesus portrait where it just kind of zooms in on the Jesus portrait, and I feel like that shot is just asking the question of why was this allowed to happen, and why are these verses in the Bible. And
Hmm.
even though it's not like the main point of the story, I still want to say like the main point is the mother and daughter connecting with each other,
Hmm.
and the daughter learning to accept that, or the mother learning to accept that her daughter is her own person.
Hmm.
um I feel like that's like an underlying theme, or like the secondary theme to it all.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
It's a
For
lot packed into 12 minutes, isn't it?
it really is. It really is.
Yeah.
Patrice, when can when can other people see the film?
So the film, we won't be able to. Unfortunately, we won't be able to have it public for a while. We're gonna
And
be,
why is that, Patrice?
we're gonna be submitting it to festivals. So,
Awesome.
so festivals, the way a lot of them work is that they don't want your film to be public in any way because
Mhm.
they want there to be a draw for people to come to the festivals. So it was like, oh,
Exactly.
come see this film. It's at the festival. You can't see it anywhere else. So that's yeah. So we're gonna be submitting it to a lot of festivals, and it probably won't be public for about a year,
Okay.
but we will be like posting updates of like if and when there it gets accepted into other festivals, where those festivals will be. If people are able to come out and watch it, then we'd love to have you guys come out and support.
Very
What it
cool.
what is what is the dream around the festival? Like if you could, your vision happens, what's the best case scenario vision for this film now?
Best case scenario for this film, you know, I haven't thought about that too much. I feel like a lot of my friends have told me that I need to be more confident in the film because I know I do know it's good and I do feel really good about it. But I'm kind of like taking the attitude of like, okay, let's just, just put it out there and see how it goes.
Mhm.
I I haven't like put too much like stock into like, oh, I want to put this into like Sundance and Canes and stuff like that. I haven't been thinking about all that. I've been more just kind of like, let's just submit it to. We're starting off with like local festivals,
Okay.
like out in Grand Rapids. There's this reoccurring festival called Open Projector Night, and just like a lot of local films get shown there. So we're submitting it to that. We're submitting it to the Grand Rapids Film Festival, and if it does good there, then we'll scale up from there and we'll see. So
S- How do films get chosen for like things like Sundance and whatever the other kind of,
Canes.
yeah, Canes. Yeah. What are those, or yeah, how do films get selected for those?
yeah, so I can't give too much insight. I'm actually planning on meeting with our professor soon, who is a established indie filmmaker,
Oh,
and
very cool.
he's been through the festival circuit a lot,
Okay.
and so he's gonna give us a lot of tips on what we should do and like let us know like the ins and outs of festival runs. But from my understanding right now is you just submit it online or through mail if you have like a physical copy, and then they get like thousands of films. So
I'm
it's
sure they do.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mm,
it's a lot of competition,
Uh-huh.
but they kind of curate the festival according to like usually they'll have kind of like a couple heavy hitters
mhm,
and then shape the festival around the heavy hitters. So like according to like those couple films, then
mhm.
other
Like
films.
like a theme sort of.
Yeah, something like a theme
Okay.
where there's certain festivals will have certain themes. Like there's from what I've heard, I'm not sure which ones exactly, but there's some that are like more lean towards like drama,
Mhm.
uh, and some that are lean towards more like feature films, some
Okay.
that are more like short films. So
Okay.
it's just kind of like figuring out what your film is and then finding festivals that are most likely to pick your film.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. It just depends. It varies from festival to festival how they choose.
Okay. You said that this was your senior thesis. Have you received your grade yet? Like, did it do well? I mean, I'm not going to ask for the specific grade because that's none of my business, but
did you
did you?
graduate?
Yeah.
I did graduate.
Yay!
Yay!
Congratulations!
And I have a lot of hope for it because in the thesis class we had a showcase for all the films in the thesis class, and our professor and the people who were like putting together the showcase, they wanted our film to be the finale, so it was the finale of the night.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And well, originally it was like a 4-hour showcase, and so they split it up into 2 blocks. When we presented the script in class, they were like, okay, we're gonna have you guys at the end of the first block. And then when we presented the first cut in class, they were like, all right, we're gonna have you guys as the finale. And I was like, oh, okay. That's cool.
Nice.
That is
Nice.
real cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah.
Now that you have graduated and you've turned in your thesis, what's next for you?
Next, I'm actually working on another music video. So Distorted was the music video me and Olivia worked on a while back, but me and Olivia actually also worked on a music video for a local artist in Milan, Michigan. Her name is Lauren Blackford.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So we Olivia did the costuming for that.
Nice.
I was producer and co-director for that. So we're putting that together, and that'll be done in June. But other than that, it's just kind of like, finding a job.
Ah, what's the dream
Welcome to
job?
the rat race.
Yeah. The dream job is to continue making, if and this is kind of like way far off, but just to continue making short films and music videos and directing and writing, because I think after doing it for my thesis and directing, writing, and producing 2 things at the same time, uh like the music video and my thesis at the same time, I was like, okay, this is really fulfilling. It's very, very exhausting, but it's really fulfilling. So I think if I was able to one day be able to just continue directing for a living and writing for a living, I would love that. But
That
in the
sounds
short
awesome.
term, I would like to edit for just local films and just help out with other people's films. I'd like to maybe do editing and also maybe do like camera work and just be on other sets. I Being on set, I think, is the biggest thing that's the most fulfilling for me. It's so fun being on a film set.
Very cool. What's your favorite part of the process? Like, I mean, I kind of feel sometimes when I ask a question like this, like I'm asking somebody to choose their favorite child, but like, is there a part of, because I mean, you're naming off all this stuff like writing and directing and producing and blah, blah, blah. And, is there one part of it that is your like favorite part?
Man, this is the hardest question. I get asked this a lot for our capstone class in the film program. We kind of have to like hone in on one thing,
Mm,
and it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough. I I think if I would have to go with one, I think I'd have to continue directing.
cool.
This is like me saying this right now because I've still been like thinking through this. So like this it might change, but like if right now in this moment I'm feeling directing if I had to do
Mhm.
that forever.
Okay. Do you have a favorite director?
I don't have a favorite director really actually. I uh I kind of just like watch. I'm a movie person, but I'm not like deep into movies. So like
Hmm.
I just kind of like watch what I like to watch. But I do really enjoy the directing of Barry Jenkins and like Moonlight. So like
Oh, yeah.
the slow pace and like the more emotional, uh like really
Hmm.
diving deep into characters. That's the kind of stories that I like to tell.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I have a question for all of the younger people out there. You said you started school in 2016 and it took you a while. You had that ADHD journey. Continue with that journey. Obviously, that's not a, you find out and then everything's like, oh, it's cool now. It's a lot to be done. What was the journey for you like finding finding your people, finding the creatives, coming together to make projects, and then I guess building your community? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, that was probably like one of the toughest things for me. Um, coming like being in high school and then coming out of high school, I was very much a homebody. I didn't really go out much, and I was I would say I was pretty much a people pleaser where I would try to like just kind of fit in with whoever because I felt like I needed that. I was like I
We
need to
relate.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. it's
Mm-hmm.
it's tough, but it's like it took me a while to like kind of like look into myself and find like the things that I need from people. But I one of the biggest things that I've learned that I really value in myself and in other people is creativity. So when I started community college, I kind of went in there like, okay, I'm gonna find a group of people who just like are also really creative. And that was like my first kind of like criteria for like a friendship. That I was like, okay, I'm gonna find other creative people. And that's that's probably why the one of the main reasons me and Olivia are close friends today and why I value her friendship so much, along with like many other reasons. But yeah, it just kind of like started off just kind of like being like somebody who didn't really talk too much and had a lot of trouble like expressing myself and being thrown into I feel like filmmaking is very unique in comparison to other things to study because of how collaborative it is
Mm,
compared to like other fields in college. So you really just get to like work with a group of people and see how you click with those people. Like you're thrown in like the pit with these people because like it's you don't know them that well at first, but you have to spend like 12 hours with them multiple days. And so you really get to know people, you really get to know yourself, and you really get to know like how you work with them. I think just being on sets over and over and over again really like helped me to like find who I am as a person and find out like the kind of people that I want to continue to hang around with. And it continued that kind of like started at community college at WCC and it expanded at Grand Valley because at Grand Valley was when it really kicked in and I was on a bunch of sets and it really came like into play these last 6 months. Like the friendships I've made in like the last 6 months are probably like the some of the deepest friendships I've made like in my life. And honestly I never thought I would like get to this point where I would like have a group of friends where I could just like rely on and like hit up and be like, "Hey, what you doing this weekend?" And it was something that was like really like outside of like my comfort zone and like who I how I grew up because I was just like very introverted and very to myself. And I think just being on these film sets and like really getting a chance to connect with people and being like kind of like forced to connect with people because you have to communicate in order to like a film for some film set to work, especially being like a director for two things, technically three things because there's another internship that I had, just kind of like made it so I had to think about everybody on my set and really get to know everybody on my set. And now I'm at the point where there's so many people, like everybody on the set of songs from this guy is like some people that I want to continue to be friends with like for the rest of my life. I feel like they're all forever friends.
Wow.
Um, like even the actresses, like we I'll probably touch on this a little later, but the daughter actress, we flew out from Alabama, and even though like she's so far, she's like one of the coolest people I've ever met. She is awesome. Her name is Portia Kemp, and she's really like one of the most talented actresses I know. And same with Clara May Fields, who played the mother. They were both super cool people, both extremely talented. And yeah, I'm just so happy to I'm so happy that I got to know them on that set, and I'm so happy I got to work with everybody on that set. Yeah, they just I don't know, it feels like every set that you're on, if when you meet if you work with the same people again, you just like get that much closer with them, and you learn how to work with them professionally as well as like friend wise. And yeah, I'm I guess just overall just to say I'm just really happy to have gotten to this point in terms of like connecting with people. And it's probably the thing I'm most thankful for in terms of like being or coming out of college. The thing that I'm most thankful for is just meeting all these cool people and having friends afterwards.
I love to hear that.
What did you want to tell our audience about you or any of the projects that you work on that we didn't give you the opportunity? What's your what's your final message?
Final thing, oh man, I think the last thing I wanted to touch on is just like the fact that this film stars. I just want to acknowledge that this film is a mother-daughter story, and I'm a guy. And it's like I even though like I wrote this story, I wanted to like make sure that I was writing women in a way that was like not disrespectful in any way at all. And so like the main people who helped bring the story together were women of color. And so like my partner Jada Dobbins, she gave like one of the key components of the story. My creative producer Lynn Tran, Olivia obviously helped out with story stuff, and our casting director Faith Hudson, she was the one, she knew the story like the back of her hand, and she was the one that like was really talking with me and helping to develop the ideas. So yeah, when I said earlier that this film was like I said this so I think like last week to our crew that I really hesitate calling it my film because it's I don't think it's my film. I think it's just all of our films. I feel like there's so much that everybody like contributed to this. Like it's a lot of pieces of everybody coming in to make this. And even like the actresses, they would come to me with ideas and be like, oh, should I like maybe we should deliver the line like this, maybe they're thinking this during this moment. And I feel like I was more so like a person to like bring everybody together. And yeah, definitely this is a story that centers the voices of Black women, and I wanted to that's also like a main component of that. And I hope I did well with that, and I hope that I just wanted to acknowledge all of the Black women and women of color who really helped to make this film as solid as it was.
That's
This is a
awesome,
rare
Patrice.
run, but I think I'm crying today.
Yeah.
Usually it's
Usually it's
Raquel.
me. Usually it's me. Yeah.
Well, I feel very touched by that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, Patrice, that's just so great. And yeah, you are a very, very talented person and with a lot of heart, and that comes through. And I'm just so excited to see what comes next and what the future holds for you in your work. Thank you for sharing your work with us.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you guys for just like making this a thing. This is awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
It was our
Yeah.
pleasure to have you on today.
And thank you for letting us, watch the film ahead of the festivals and whatnot. We promise we won't tell anybody.
You guys get VIP treatment.
Exactly. We're VIPs. Awesome.
Yep. Oh, and thank you guys again for donating to the film.
You're welcome.
You are very welcome.
And
Money well spent.
Yep.
money well spent.
Yep. We're supporting the arts, and we're supporting, up and coming talent. So that's key. That's key. Keep making good art.
I'll try my best. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Patrice.
Yep.
Bye.
Have a good one, guys.
You too.
You too. Well,
What a talented person. There's so much heart in Patrice's work, and I'm just so, like, I never really thought about it before, but the idea of using art or film as a way to find yourself and express yourself, but also as a way of making connections with other people. Like, I don't think I ever thought about art that way. And which is crazy, because I have a lot of friends who are creatives and, work in different fields and all that, but it never occurred to me that there was the aspect of it being a tool to make connections with other people.
yeah.
Yeah. The arts are very necessary. The
I think-
arts are necessary.
I'm blown away. I don't usually get like this.
I know, you're choked up. That never happens.
I know. I think I'm choked up because in Patrice, I see my daughter. I
Mhm.
see our future.
Mhm.
When he spoke about knowing that this movie was about women, Black women in particular,
Mhm.
enslaved women, and really him as a man trying to get that voice perfect
Mhm.
and enlisting did you hear all the people that were on the
Yeah.
crew?
Yeah.
Enlisting the help of women to get the women's voice. I was just so
Right.
this made me think, okay, the world is changing.
Yeah.
The world is changing because here's a young man doing what we've always asked.
Mhm.
Ask women
Yeah.
for the voice
Listen
of
to
women.
women. Listen
right?
to women. Listen to women of color. And he's
Right.
doing that.
I mean, that part just, I think it brought tears, because I was like, this is just all we've ever asked for.
Mhm.
This is
Mhm.
just what we've asked for. And he's young, and my daughter's young, and the people working on the film with him are young. And then the professors who are given the guidance on how to get into, there's been so much weighing down on me, and this was
Yeah.
such a hopeful message.
Mhm.
This was
Mhm.
like a message of action and hope, and how we can do it another way. Even the conversation about being diagnosed with ADHD at for him, an older age. He's still a youngster, but still
Yeah.
affecting his future after high school.
Mhm.
And then community college. This is something all these young people being so pressured to go to some expensive, I don't know, just
big Ivy League.
there's so many different ways to do it.
Yeah, there are multiple paths to success, and there are multiple definitions of success. And again, I mean, I really have to give kudos to Patrice for realizing, whoa, this isn't working out. Let me take a step back. Not, oh, life is over and this is all I'll ever do and this is all I'll ever be, blah, no, taking a step back, self-reflection, taking the time, and then moving forward from there and just going, you know what? It takes the time that it takes, and he's doing what he loves, and it's brought him out of his shell, and he's incorporating other people into it. It's just, I can't, I don't think I could be prouder of what Patrice has accomplished. I mean, Patrice doesn't know me from a hole in the wall, but
He does now.
well, he does that. Yeah. But I'm just so proud of that. And and especially as a young Black man, and there's so many negative messages coming at young Black men, and regardless of those, or maybe in spite of those, he is this beautiful soul who opens himself to other people and what their viewpoints are and takes them in. I don't think you can ask more than that from anyone.
This is what we've always asked for.
Yeah. And I'm so excited for the future for Patrice and whoever he works with. Like, I'm just so excited that, I don't know, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what we see from Patrice. I'm just so excited for it. I really am.
Thank you, Patrice, because I just feel hope in a different way that I haven't felt in a while. I see the change that we have asked for as women. I see the change that we have asked for, and I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful.
I love it.
And a little call out to our audience: share this information so that, I know you can't watch it yet, but you can watch the trailer. I think we played the trailer at the beginning of the episode. And, if you happen to be in the area where the film is playing, go see it, and let's get this moving forward.
Yeah. And support the arts, support up and coming artists, support young people and children getting into the arts in whatever way they are able to get into it. There are more ways to get into art and music and film than just the prescribed ways of doing it. Open yourselves up to art in all the ways that you can find it, and support it however you can. I love it.
I love it too. Thanks, Raquel.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Bye.
Bye.
Slaves, be obedient to those who are your earthly masters with fear and trembling.
Slaves, be obedient to those who are your earthly masters with fear and trembling.
In singleness of heart as to Christ.
In singleness of heart as to Christ.
Not in the way of eye service as men pleasers, but as servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart.
Thanks everyone for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast, or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.